People want the service, but they're buying you, who you are and what you bring and what your values are, and can they trust you? And those things can't be expressed if they don't see you and know who you are.
Our core qualities is our customer service, but clients can't see that before they work with us. So we try to show as much of a picture as possible through being more visible and telling stories and explaining, case studies or things like that, so that they see maybe a piece of that trust.
Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James. And, I'm so grateful that I get to be with women who are change makers and introduce you to them. Because every woman has made a choice at some point in her life where she wanted to make a difference for other women and for themselves. And so I'm thrilled. Listen, I feel like this is the time that women are emerging on the planet. And by the way, our energy is needed. Not that I don't love men, but I think they could use some assistance. And I'm just saying that because it's true. So I'm really grateful that you're here. We come out every week. We're on all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Amazon, video on YouTube. And really come subscribe, share the videos. Guarantee you, every woman will inspire you, because I walk away inspired every single time. And I want you to know you can also go to cynthiajames.net. That's my website. There's all kinds of gifts and support things. You can join my newsletter or my private community. The people in my world said, well, Facebook is nice, but we want a private place where we can talk. So that's what we created. So I'm really grateful that you're here. So I want to introduce you to my guest today. She's new to me. Her name is Kim Insana, and she's a multi-million-dollar business owner, digital marketing expert, and founder of Always On Digital, a woman-owned agency helping brands like the U.S. Air Force, Infamil, and Johnson & Murphy scale through impactful campaigns. With over 20 years of experience, Kim left her demanding New York City advertising career to build a company that offers flexibility and balance, values she champions as a wife and a mother of four. Always On Digital thrives by empowering talented working parents to blend career success with family life. She's a sought-after speaker and has shared her journey and expertise on national stages, including The Big in San Francisco and iMedia Brand Summit. Kim, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Cynthia.
Well, I'm excited to know about you, but I want to start with, I always ask, my women that come on, how did you grow up? People kind of think that people just drop into being successful and have never had a life. So where did you grow up and how did you grow up?
So I grew up in Queens. We had a two-family house. So I grew up I stayed in Queens almost my whole entire life. I actually went to Queens College as well. So literally did not leave Queens till I had kids. And we had a two-family house. So my grandmother lived downstairs and I lived with my parents. And then I have a younger brother and sister. So, we had one of those situations where grandma was always there. She was she was a seamstress for movies and television. So up until I was about 12 years old, we didn't really see her as much because she would always be on set. But then when I was about 12, she ended up staying home full time. She was retired. So we had grandma there telling us what to do. It was just like another mom. And it was a nice environment. My mom's an only child, but was very close with her cousins. So we spent a lot of time with them and their children. And then my father, his family lived a little further away, but my dad's probably one of the greatest people on this earth. He's like the most honest, the most pure. He's hardworking. And, he put up with the tough women in our household because my grandma was a single mom for most of her life because my grandfather was in the military and got injured and ended up being like hospitalized until he died. So she was essentially a single mother from when my mom was about 6 years old.
Wow.
So strong women was like the whole motto in our family. My grandmother was one of four sisters. It was her grandma, and there wasn't really a lot of men in the picture. So my dad coming into this group of strong women, he's a saint. He literally is, and we say all the time, you were a saint living with your mother-in-law. She was there all the time, no knocking on the door, just come right in. What are you guys doing? So it was a fun environment, but definitely had those strong women around me all the time.
Well, you know what I love about that is that it takes a certain kind of individual, a masculine form, to be able to be in the presence of strong women and still hold your own space, but give them the space to be who they've come here to be.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes, people may look and say, "Oh, your dad, is he a pushover? He's got all these women." And I'm like, he lets a lot of things go, but when he wants his way, he gets his way. So, it you may think on paper it looks a certain way, but he let so much, and then at one point he's like, "Okay, this is what I want," and then it would happen. So, but it was a nice dynamic for sure.
I love that. Okay, so you went to Queens College. What for?
Communications. So initially, I was supposed to go to Syracuse. I had a scholarship there. I was going to be the next Marv Albert. I wanted to be an announcer for the Knicks. That was my goal. I was going, school of communications. But I didn't have all the money to do it. I would have to take out loans. And I had a boss in my part-time job, which was in radio, who said, "Oh, you go to school, local for 2 years, we'll give you a job. Or you can stay the 4 years and we'll give you a job, guarantee a job when you graduate." And, I came from a more humble background. So for my parents, they were like, "You can't guarantee a job anywhere." So, and this was years and years ago. So they made me, or gently pushed me in the direction of staying home and not having loans, which I did not. So I had a full ride between my parents and a little bit of a scholarship, and I really didn't have to worry about anything. And then I got to have a new car when I graduated because I didn't have loans. So it was a nice little start there.
Well, and so how did you end up in advertising? Because I used to live in New York, and that world is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. So the after school job I had in radio was network radio. So we were selling ads on radio stations. And my boss was going to start like a new division for an online advertising company back in like 1999, 2000. So I was pretty junior at the time. I wasn't even, maybe I was 21. I hadn't graduated college yet though. And he said, "Why don't you come and join us? Come and start with me. I'll give you $25,000 as a salary." So it was really enticing at the time. And it was good. So I joined there, and that's really how I got my start. So it wasn't necessarily that was my path that I wanted to take. It just the direction I ended up going, and I started to like it. I liked the people. It was really, as fast paced and exciting. So it was just different than, I guess, what the struggles and the challenges I would have faced trying to be a sports reporter as a woman all
Right.
those years ago.
Is that well, and I just want to say the interesting thing about this story that you're telling is that somehow this boss saw you and
Yes.
knew who you were and wanted to support it. And do you think that that's important for women who are wanting to step out and be successful in the world, that they move into a space where they're seen and appreciated?
Absolutely. And I think I was very fortunate with those first two corporate jobs. And I know they're unique experiences because all the managers that I had, it was a mostly male world, but they were appreciative of people. They would write handwritten thank you notes, and they were very giving in that sense. And if you did something well, you would get a note. And if somebody got a promotion, and just because I was an assistant at one point, so I was typing these notes on their behalf, but they wanted a note to go out to everybody who got a promotion, like very purposeful and specific forms of gratitude and appreciation, which is not something you see all the time. And I don't think I've experienced it really much after that. So I know it was very unique, but it gave me such a huge foundation to work off of and know that I was seen, and so were those around me. And that really helped, I think, my confidence early on in trying to do things, because I didn't know any better until I started to have bosses that were not like that and not supportive, in those situations.
Yeah. So I want to get to your company, but I want to back up a little bit because you've got this great dad.
Hmm.
So clearly you found somebody great because you have four children.
Yeah.
Uh, but were you still working in advertising when you got married and started to have children?
Yes. So I have almost, I say like I have two phases of my life where I had my first son, where I was in corporate and working, and I was younger. So I was in my late 20s and trying to climb the ladder at the time, where I wasn't really in management. I started to tiptoe in management, working crazy hours, traveling a lot, and not that I wasn't the mother I wanted to be, but I was a different mother. That was the mother I had to be, I guess. Versus now, and over time, when things changed and having more kids, and where I was in my career, that really evolved. And so I was always really in advertising throughout that. My husband is also in advertising, and he now works with me. After when we had our fourth, some things in our life we had to make some changes, because I started the business right before I got pregnant with our fourth. So
Okay.
that's a whole nother story, obviously.
All right. So what was the impetus on your in your bio? It said flexibility, but
Hmm.
what was the impetus to start your company? Because being an entrepreneur, I mean, there's a certain kind of energy and commitment and dedication that you need to start a company and be an entrepreneur and see it through the interesting growth spurts.
So I think whether it be a fault or a mistake, is thinking that things should be simple. Not necessarily easy, not the same, simple. That if you follow a process and you do the process and you're consistent, the thing will happen. And so I look at everything like that. Things should be simple. You do your job, but you do it well. And I know that's probably not the best way to look at everything necessarily, but I think, you just follow the plan. And so for me, in starting a business, it wasn't that I sought out to be an entrepreneur and that was my dream. It was, I need this to work for my life. I want to be able to work. I want to be able to be a mom. I want to be able to be present. This should be easy. If I just have my own thing, I can do this. And, going back to my radio days, there were things called job shares at the time, for a lot of working mothers. And this was before our cell phones and our laptops, and they needed work, and they were high performers. And I just didn't understand how that situation couldn't be applied in our corporate world in advertising, when we had access to all these new technologies that would allow us to work from anywhere. And so part of the driving of flexibility and getting to the point where the straw that broke the camel's back was, for me, struggling to get home in time, having a morning's before school care, having after school care, and then having a babysitter, getting an hour of my kids at night, struggling. I ended up going through a miscarriage right before I was supposed to go on a 2-week business trip to 2 different cities. Like, it was a lot. And I just thought, this doesn't seem like, is this what it is? Is this what we do? Or, you go to school and get married and all this for this life. And granted, the money is nice, but is that everything? Why have kids if I can't see them? So that was my own personal, but then I started to see other women around me struggling with the same things. And it kind of like the light bulb went off. Well, hey, this has worked before. I'm going to do it. And it was more that than anything. And like I said, thought I thought it would be simple. It's black and white. You just do the thing and it'll work. Obviously, it's not as easy as that.
Yeah. So, okay, tell me about the name Always on Digital and how you started attracting clients. Because a lot of people who are listening to this are wanting to do something that maybe they haven't done before. Um, and they don't know where to start. So where did the name come from and how did you begin?
So always on digital really came from the idea that because at the time we were going to hire moms. Moms are always working. And it was kind of like my point to my bosses right before I ended up leaving was that I would come in the office, I would work, and then I want to leave in time to get my kids. But then I went back online later and I got the job done. And I was in sales. And I managed a sales team. It's very clear. Did we hit our goal or did we not hit our goal? You know we're working. It's very easy. And so I just felt like we're always working. And so that's what I kind of felt like always on digital was that we are going to, check your campaigns on the weekends and we're going to check them on the holidays and make sure something is not falling through the cracks. Like we are here just like moms are. We're, always on call. And it doesn't mean we're working 24 hours a day. It means that we're working throughout these pockets of the day to make sure that things are, nothing is left because it's 5 o'clock and see you later. So that was where the name kind of, drove from. And then, from there, it really was about, how we can service different clients in the advertising space. And a lot of that comes from referrals. So most of our clients come from our network and our referrals through, people that we've worked with in the past, or maybe even current clients that can make a recommendation. But anybody who's trying to start a business that comes to me and asks me like, how do I get started or where do I find clients? I always say start with your network first because that really has helped us. And I do have a sales background and I understand about cold calling and all of that. But even when I was a salesperson selling and that was just my sole job, I still use referrals more than anything. And I remember someone saying like, oh, the person doesn't do cold calling because any call they make, they know, oh, I know so-and-so that made this introduction to me. And then it's all these warm leads. And that has really helped us grow. And now, sometimes we get inbounds for sure, but really the referrals have made the difference for us.
Yeah, for my business too, when I started,
Mhm.
it was people who knew me from different area and they would come and then they would send other people because I quite frankly, I was clueless about marketing at the time. So that was a real gift. So what do you want to say to working women who really want to continue to work, want to be great spouses and parents? What do you want to say to them?
So I think it's really about creating your space that you need and you want. And not everybody is going to start something. It doesn't have to be really big. Maybe it is something that you have a special talent that you can do, or maybe it is within another organization. It's not necessarily you're going to start your own company, but it's within an organization. So having that ask, not being afraid to ask, can I create this space for myself? Especially if you're a proven performer in anything, you start there. Listen, you've known me. I've done this. You can trust me. Can I create this space for myself, at least as a test? And that's always my recommendation. Can we try it? Even if it doesn't work. And that's how I started always on digital because I actually got the support of my current company to start the business. I went and asked and I said, this is my idea. Can you help me? And initially they said, give us a couple, like 6 months, which they did. And they did help me. They did stick true to their word to help me get started, which at the time I thought I needed all this help. They helped me set up the LLC, which you can do on your own. You can learn it.
Well, I guess I'm interested in your bio, it talks about campaigns. And I want to talk about that because I used to have an organization called AWE. It was the Academy of Women Emerging, and we worked with women entrepreneurs to help them build their business. The biggest barrier for them was becoming visible and marketing. I mean, they resisted it. So talk to us about the importance of marketing, the importance of visibility, and and how that impacts your growth.
So Definitely the importance of marketing, whether it be your organic marketing on socials or just search, making sure your SEO is in place. But marketing on some level has to be there because there's no other way for people to find you. You need some inbound help. It's hard to do it all the outbound. So you want to find a way to get some inbound. So marketing in general is obviously critical. And even everyone markets that a McDonald's is still marketing. People know who McDonald's is, but they have to constantly remind you that they're there. So you go and remember, to go there versus to Burger King. So marketing constantly is critical, but the visibility is a part that I wasn't aware about initially because that wasn't anything I had dealt with, and understanding being visible and as a founder or as a business different from your marketing. And we use somebody that really helps because it does take a lot of time, and that was obviously a big thing. How do you allocate your time as a business owner? But being consistent in your message. And when I first started to become more visible on LinkedIn and other platforms, I was afraid. I was really afraid because I thought people are going to say, who is she to even be talking? Like, why does she think she knows everything? Which I don't, but I felt like posting, my thoughts and my opinions and suggestions and things like that, that people would criticize me for thinking that, I know everything. And when you are a CEO of your own company, does that have the same weight as a CEO of another company or a larger organization? What is my value compared to theirs? And they must be more of an expert, and maybe I shouldn't be saying anything. So that visibility is challenging. You have to really get out of your head and go forward with it. And I'm not saying it's perfect because I don't necessarily feel every time, I still cringe when I look at videos of myself or listen to myself. And maybe not everybody does. I do. But it just, it's important as part of the business and the growth because otherwise you're doing disservice.
Well, yeah. And here's the thing that when I talk to my clients, I say people want the service, but they're buying you,
Yes.
who you are and what you bring and what your values are and can they trust you. And
Yes.
those things can't be expressed if they don't see you and know who you are.
Yes. Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. Is important and that's how we get the referrals through your relationships, through people trusting you, working with you and taking that. And we always say, one of our core qualities is our customer service, but clients can't see that before they work with us. So we try to show as much of a picture as possible through being more visible and telling stories and explaining, case studies or things like that so that they see, they maybe a piece of that trust.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And um, so you're a speaker.
Yeah.
And did you know how to be a speaker or did you have to learn in the midst of it?
I learned in the midst of it. I think presentation practice over and over from sales meetings is really what I've grown from and taken feedback as much as it doesn't always feel right at the time. Try to listen to the feedback and make adjustments. And even in the videos that I post on LinkedIn that are recorded, I really try to make improvements each time. But, as I said, I don't always like listening and looking at myself, but I understand how important it is to take those reflections and then incorporate it into your next, wherever you're speaking next.
Absolutely. So my husband is a photographer and he has photographed a lot of celebrities and authors and things. And one of the things that he says is, let's just find your authenticity. Let's
Mhm.
just find what lights you up. Whether I'm photographing you or whether I'm doing a video, it's like let's just find that because that's what's going to connect you with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to know, how do people find you and your work?
So they can find us through our website, which is getawayson.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn, and then I'm Kim Insana. It's KYMINSANA. Or you can reach me via email, kim@getawayson.com.
I love that. And I ask the same last question of every person I interview. This show is called Women Awakening. What do you think is the most important thing about women awakening on the planet in this moment?
I would say for me, it's really our support and helping each other more than anything, because I, I know there's so many of us that want to do something but need the support of others. And I I would have gotten nowhere in my life without the support of other women. And having that, whether you call it a tribe or you call it your squad or whatever the term that suits, I just know how much help I've had from other women that were supportive and have let me have that epiphany that I can do the thing that I want to do to create my own space. If I didn't see the support of other women throughout that, I don't know if I would have taken that step. But there's just even like certain critical people that may not even realize the roles that they play in your life. And maybe they think they're doing just a simple little thing for you, but that little thing had, saved you in so many situations that they don't even realize, and really allowed you to kind of move forward and have that opportunity and chance.
I'm so glad you said that because um, I think women supporting women is one of the great gifts on the planet. I mean, that's why this podcast got started. And I know that in my life, a group of women, you know, we were together, a lot for 30 years that just supported and honored our visions and our dreams. So, Kim, I want you to know I'm very grateful you decided to come on the show and to bring your gifts and to do what you're doing, because I really feel like we, as the female population, need to see other women being successful and being
Yes.
willing to support others.
Absolutely. And we're not in competition with each other. So being there to celebrate someone else, their success has nothing to do with yours. So we can all do well and all be successful together, and then go out and celebrate.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. I'm so grateful, really.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm grateful for you and this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Okay, ladies, let me tell you this. I say the same thing at the end of every show with different words. Listen, you are essential on this planet, otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So, whatever your gifts, whatever your passion, whatever it is that lights you up, go in that direction. Find out how to deliver it, how to be in service, how to support others. And it doesn't matter if it's on a grand scale or a small scale. What's important is that you honor that calling inside of you. I'm so grateful to do this with you and to have you come and be with us every week. And I look forward to seeing you the next time. Many blessings.